The Atlantic lay like a tarnished mirror, dull light bruising the horizon. On the Dei Gratia's quarterdeck, Captain Morehouse watched a slovenly scrap of canvas far off, a ship that would not answer the wind. The barometer had slipped a notch. The sea breathed as if in sleep. Through the spyglass, the name came clear on the warped stern. Mary Celeste. No signal flags, no faces at the rail. Her sails fretted at the edges, listless as wet paper. She kept her own crooked counsel, drifting. "Lower away," Morehouse said. Oars bit the cold water. The brig swelled larger, a wall of stained planking, and quiet. DeVoe glanced back once at their ship, as if to mark the last place where men were certain and numbered. They hailed her. Silence held. The ladder swung, knocking gently against the hull. DeVoe climbed into a hush so complete the creak of timber sounded like breath, the pause between one and the next. On deck, no wreckage, no blood, only the litter of interrupted work. A coil unmade, a bucket with a gleam of fresh water, lines cut clean instead of loosed. The ship felt recently handled, like a room someone had just stepped out of. The wheel was lashed but lazily. The compass card trembled, a nervous eyelid. DeVoe touched the rope, sound, careless, and fought the idea that someone's hands were still on it, only moments ahead of his own. Below, in the gloom that always smells of salt and time, he found the log. Positions, wind, a precise hand. The last line dated 25 November, ink blotched, as if written with a damp pen and an urgent wrist. Routine words that now sounded like an epitaph. In the captain's cabin, a teacup ring stained the desk. A book lay open, a ribbon marking a child's place. Folded linen, a hair ribbon, a crib prayer. Domestic order preserved like a pressed flower, too intact, too fresh. The hold breathed a thin, metallic reek. Barrels of alcohol tinked inside as the hull moved. One bung sat wet. A man coughed, tasting the air. The vapor made its own weather, a low, invisible fog that suggested a match would bloom into catastrophe. At the pumps, salt crust glittered like frost. The bilge showed a sheen of brackish water. No disaster, only trouble that knows how to wait. The ship's own heartbeat ticked there, the rise and fall of what she kept out and what she could not. The davits stood bare. The falls were cut short, the ends stiff with salt. It was the quick work of a man who chooses haste over neatness. Somewhere between caution and fear, a boat had gone down. In the galley, a thin film of grease clouded a lid. A spoon lay overturned, with crumbs that still took a fingerprint. The ghost here was not a person. It was the shape of interruption itself. On the chart, a course line crossed the Atlantic in calm pencil. The sextant's case was ajar, as if someone set it down to listen and never came back. A navigator had paused mid-thought and let the thought escape. The barometer sat a little low, a sulk in the glass. Penciled notes muttered about unsettled air. Outside, the sky pretended innocence. Inside, a careful man had read the shift and stiffened. A small shoe tucked by a bunk, a string toy, patient in its coil. The cabin's silence became not absence but a pressure, a thing that pressed the lungs from the inside. DeVoe worked a cask plug and it hissed like a snake in dry grass. The men flinched. A prudent captain might lift his family into a boat, lower his crew, put a line to the stern, and wait off until the fumes thinned. Prudence can look like panic when the air itself tastes like a spark. The sea went about its business. The Mary Celeste rose and fell, unoffended. Rigging ticked, a dry insect sound. Whatever had happened had left no mark that salt or wood would keep. DeVoe spoke the sequence as if casting it to see if it would float. Alarm below. Orders, papers, sextant, boat. Cut the lines. Keep a tow. A squall turns the rope into a whip, or a knife of wind parts it. The brig carries on. The boat does not. He turned the log back through days of ordinary bearings, breeze, small corrections. The smoothness scraped at him. Routine is a narrow bridge. One slip and there is only the drop. They split their number. A prize crew took the Mary Celeste in hand. and she answered like any other ship, obedient, innocent. Morehouse watched both vessels make their sober way toward Gibraltar, and none of the men liked to go alone to the rail at night. In Gibraltar, they told the story until it wore thin. The Inquiry ran its fingers along the seams. No mutiny, no piracy, no plausible villainy. Hypotheses rose, emptied, and sat back down. The language of certainty failed to find a place to hook. Afterward, Mary Celeste returned to trade, as if only time had passed between her timbers. Dei Gratia's men drifted to other decks and winds. The tale outran them, changing as it spread. The horror stayed, a sound ship, a missing boat, and a choice made over open water, silent, swallowed whole. Years later, salt has erased fingerprints, but not the absence. Charts archived, inquiries bound, the ship gone under other names. What endures is a thin thread of decision, a captain tasting risk in the hold, a rope paid out to safety, and a squall that did not bargain. No villain fits, no weapon to display. Only prudence pushed too far, a boat leaving a sound deck, and the cold arithmetic of distance when a tow line parts. The sea needs no witness to finish a story. It smooths the wake, closes the gap, and keeps its counsel. The Mary Celeste remains a neat, enduring wound on the charts, an empty ship under a pale sky, a family and crew unaccounted for, and a question that still rocks. What moment tipped sense into loss? The horror is not what was seen aboard, but what was never seen again.